And he did a lot of things coming up through the field. He was getting huge runs and then washing guys out of their lane and trying to take over their spot. Like, very aggressive stuff that you would see from him. Again, I don't fault him for it. But I will say this too, that if he got out of his car and there was 3 guys waiting there to punch him when he got out of his car, I wouldn't blame them either.
Following is a production of
The Garage Area.
Well, welcome to the garage area. This is are we saying Echo Park or are we saying Atlanta?
I still say Atlanta.
It's our Atlanta Echo Park Speedway recap show, where we saw Tyler Reddick end up getting the win in the Cup Series. We came awfully close to our weekend three-peat that we said was a possibility last week with Kyle Busch, Austin Hill, and Christopher Bell, the same guys winning back again, but that didn't end up happening. Sheldon Creed got his first win in the O'Reilly Series, and Kyle Busch won the truck race. Let's just get it out of the way off the top. Our picks over the weekend for the Garage Area Season Challenge. I didn't even pull up the sheet. Do you have it pulled up?
Yeah.
It sounds like a no. Let me pull it up here.
It's up.
Okay. I had Carson Hocevar. I had him as in our preview video. He was the guy that I picked to end up winning. The tip I gave, I guess. I also said that I thought that Logano, Keselowski, Reddick, and Daniel Suarez would all run well, which I guess you could say they all ran well. I mean, Reddick won the race. But Hocevar was my pick to win, and he came very close to doing that till the very end. And it kind of Hocevar'd it all up there at the end. But you had Austin Cindric, who ended up winning stage 1 and actually ran very strong throughout the day. But he ended up finishing, what was it, 26th?
Yeah.
And Hocevar finished where? 4th?
4th, yes.
So he had a real shot to win there. Wasn't able to quite get it done. Ends up bringing home 4th place finish. I'll take it for a race like Atlanta, to where Hocevar, that's a good spot to use him, I think. Be curious to see what track you end up using him at when we go there. But that was pretty much where our picks ended up landing. What do the standings look like now then?
It actually tied us up.
That tied us
up, yeah.
Well, who did we pick for Daytona? I had Cody Ware.
I had Bubba Wallace.
Okay.
And that was like I had Bubba at 10th and you had Cody at 17th. And Bubba won a stage in that one at Daytona, and then a 4th and 26, which is a bigger gap, but I think Cindric winning that stage and Hocevar not getting, I think he got 5 stage points, but still. But yeah, we're both tied at 58 points after 2 weeks.
That's impressive. We got a pretty good battle going on already. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Still, all of our heavy hit. I don't think you've used any heavy hitters yet.
I just use.
One of these days on the show, what I want to do is end up putting together 4 tiers, and then you have to take all the current drivers in the Cup Series and classify them into each tier.
Yeah.
And then if you're starting a race team, you have to pick
one from each
tier.
Yeah.
And I think we should do that at the beginning of the year and then see with their results.
Yeah. A team championship or something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
I had thoughts about that at the beginning of the year, but I didn't know how hard it would be to put together in a short time period when I thought about it and stuff.
Well, I thought it'd be interesting just in general to see where we classify the drivers into the tiers.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if I said, I think that Joey Logano's a tier 1 driver and Kyle Larson's a tier 2 driver, like there's got to be some sort of honesty here. You can't just classify those guys in those tiers, but so you're arbitrarily able to get a good driver in each tier. But yeah, I thought that would be something that would be interesting to do at some point. We'll consider that down the road. I want to see. Well, can you pull up Twitter? I'm not signed in on my laptop.
I don't know if I'm in or not.
If not, it's not a big deal. I was just curious to know what Jeff Gluck's poll ended up being.
I know it was over 90.
Was it really?
Well, when
you looked at it.
When I looked at it or hit the vote button.
Did you vote on it?
Yeah.
Where did you vote?
I put a good yes on it.
Yeah, I figured you would. You Chase Elliott fan.
It's at 92.6.
Wow. And I think Jordan guessed 94. Maybe 92. It was something up there.
What did Jeff?
It was 86, which was the first number that came to my head.
Yeah.
And then Briscoe had 87. So yeah, it looks like Jordan's going to end up winning two two in a row there. But yeah, I thought it was a good race. I don't know that I would say it was, if you're basing it off that metric, saying that it was a 9.3 or a 9.0, I don't know that I'm willing to put it that high, but I'm curious to know where you end up having it.
Well, I at this point I put Atlanta in the category of a drafting track. It's like, I mean, in the super speedway
I got
point.
news for you. We drafted all the tracks.
Well, I, so I gave it an 8.5. I think it just it reminds me more of the old drafting in Talladega and Daytona that we used to have, especially with the Gen 4 cars. And maybe not quite the Gen 4 cars. I think you could, as a single car, you had stood a better chance. You didn't have as much drag. You could defend better with those cars. But the cars spread out. You have to work up your runs and strategize when you make your moves and stuff. And not just get gridlock 3x3 saving fuel, or even when you're going full throttle gridlock 2x2 at the other speedways. So, but I give it an 8.5.
Do you think that that you do build runs? It seems like it's just like in 3 seconds you've either got one or you don't.
Um, I saw a clip of Tyler Reddick who,
Love it.
after after his wreck, um, he kept moving around the track. Like he built a run, got a run and draft, and he was able to zigzag his way, holding that run for a couple of laps. It wasn't like he just happened to get a run and dive bomb and get back in line or something. He was able. I mean, that could be partial just circumstances of where you're at on the track too. But um, I still feel like you have some control over your car when you build a run where you can and can't go and stuff.
Well, yeah, I think that you can build the run, but I feel like it's there's so much drag on the cars that I feel like you get the run so easily, and you almost have to hold back a run until you get, like, if you could use the run without all the drag, you would go blowing by the leader every time.
Yeah,
And I don't know that I'm in love with that.
yeah, I get your point with that. Yeah.
Um,
That's why I said like the leader was able to defend better at like with the Gen 4 car and stuff, with the
yeah,
draft and stuff. So I think they need to get some of the drag out of these cars and allow the leader to defend a little bit more than what he can.
because I mean, well, we'll get into it when we talk about the end of the race, but that move that, I mean, Bubba Wallace just trying to block and then Hosafar going down at the same time, there was so much speed scrubbed off just trying to change a lane
Yeah,
that you wouldn't have at a Daytona or a Talladega like that. And
yeah,
that to me just seemed a little over the top. That, you're just changing lanes and you
yeah,
lose all that momentum.
yeah. Mm. Since they're on a mile and a half too, that arrow blocking still has a lot of effect on these cars too.
Right.
Cars getting tight off a corner because they're stuck behind another car, and that's something that still needs fixed. But I still felt like the race brought a lot of excitement in the current state that it was in.
Yeah. Um, that I'll give my rating here. I say that race was a 7.5. I don't dislike it. I don't think that it was anything for what you want out of Atlanta. I thought it was good. The issue that I have is it's kind of its own standalone category, and I almost feel like it's all-star racy or clash like. It's a category that it's so different from what we do normally that there's nothing else that we do that's like it. And the trailing car, like you said, has such an advantage. I don't really even know how to put it into words how I feel about watching the race. But when people talk about, oh, this is the greatest track in NASCAR, this is the greatest style of racing that we have, I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
I don't hate it. I don't dislike it. It's just I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Um, I really can't put words behind it. It just
yeah,
is. It's not exactly what I've got in mind when I think NASCAR racing. Super speedways are different than what this is, but the style is similar. A mile and a half is definitely different than this. Short tracks are their own category, and then you got road courses. But like Atlanta is just its own thing. It should be treated as such. I'm not saying by any means pull it off the schedule or change anything about it. I'm not saying it shouldn't be in the chase, any of that. It's just I don't know that if I was bringing trying to show somebody what the sport was about, it wouldn't be like, yeah, watch this Atlanta race. It's going to be exciting,
Yeah.
but you're not. That's not what you're going to see in NASCAR consistently.
Yeah, I'd really like to see what uh putting the cars back to normal horsepower and bring them back to the normal mile and a half. I'd like to see that come back, but for what we were given and stuff, I still thought it was just an exciting race.
You'd want to see the normal horsepower and package at that
Yeah,
layout, track layout.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Because I believe turns 1 and 2 are nearly like Charlotte now. So it's like a half Charlotte, half Atlanta. I think the turns 3 and 4 are like the old Atlanta, and then 1 and 2 are like the Charlotte layout or something. I believe they're a little bit different on each end, but I know they they took some width out of the track and changed the banking, and I know the width was Charlotte, so maybe the banking's still a little bit different. But I'd like to see what the normal mile and a half package would do.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Uh, I went through and wrote down the guys that I pointed out as being potential players in this race from our preview video that we did yesterday. I already mentioned this: Logano, Keselowski, Reddick, Suarez, and Hocevar. So just out of curiosity to see where they ended up finishing, Reddick won the race. Hocevar finished fourth. Suarez ended up finishing fifth, and Logano and Keselowski, I believe, were both wrecked, uh,
It was 18th,
which was actually a pretty good recovery. And Keselowski was 17th.
17th. Yeah,
So yeah, that's where kind of the, the predicted guys that I thought would be fast ended up finishing. Not exactly spectacular, but especially I don't know. I actually am pretty impressed with the Hocevar pick. I felt good about him last week. I felt good about him during the race, even though he got down 2 laps early to start the race off,
yeah.
and uh, and still ended up coming back and being a big factor for the win. But we'll talk about that as we get into the depth of the race a little bit. I wanted to hit my notes. Well, let's hit the trivia first. As long as I got kind of got a thing of useless stats in trivia. Is kind of what I've started to incorporate
Yeah.
this year. The first useless stat, but I feel like it's. I don't even know if I would mention this other than it just got. I saw it online a lot, and people are making a big deal of it. People that are putting together stats are making a big deal of it. And I'm a Joey Logano fan. It's a Joey Logano stat that he has now led 20 straight drafting track races, and that is an all-time record. He's led at least one lap in all of those races. It doesn't seem. I'm not super impressed by that, but it was a stat that I saw on the broadcast. I saw it on Twitter. I saw it on Facebook, and I was like, man, okay, I get it. I don't know why that's such a big deal. As a side note, I think that NASCAR's main account is actually doing a pretty good job at throwing out some of these stats. I see them coming from them a lot more instead of some of these other guys that are kind of independent stat keepers. I'm not opposed to those guys, like the Steven Stumps of the world and the other people that kind of keep random stats and bring them out online. But it's nice to see those get some recognition from the NASCAR main account because it brings up some interesting things. Not so much that one, but there are others. Uh, Here's another one for you that I did find interesting. 3 drivers have finished in the top 10 between the last 2 races, Daytona and Atlanta. Can you tell me who all three? Can you tell me? Obviously, Tyler Reddick. He won both
Yeah.
races. Can you tell me the other two?
I think Bubba Wallace.
He is one.
Um, Those are probably cheating looking at this week's. um, Zane Smith.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is cheating.
I had to pull it up, but I couldn't. I was like, yeah,
Yeah, Zane Smith was the other one. It's they were kind of making a big deal on the teardown about that. I think he's seventh in points or something right now, and
yeah,
how that's a great start to the year for him, which it is. I have no argument there. But to assume that this is going to be a sustained thing for him, I think is kind of um, not realistic to think that the 38 is going to continue to run that
yeah.
well.
I think that's fair to say about a lot of drivers that are even in the top 10 right now.
Yeah. Um, he is in the 38, right? I get him in the
Yeah,
34 mixed up. Is 34 Todd?
yeah. No, yeah, it's Todd. Yeah,
Which did David Gilliland run the 38 or the 34? I know he ran the 38 M&M's car immediately after Elliott Sadler left. I think he ran the
I
38.
think
Did he run both?
I might have ran both because I feel like I think of Gilliland in the 34, but I don't know if it's because of Todd or if I'm remembering
Yeah, it could be. Do
because wasn't they were at front row when him and Reagan
Yeah.
won. So
Boy, that's a pull.
yeah,
David Reagan and Talladega win. Forgot about that
yeah.
actually.
Man, I don't remember now that I think about it, but
I think Reagan was the 34 and then Gillen was the 38.
it could be right. Yeah.
Um, wow. I like had wiped that from my mind that David Reagan ran the 34. Every time I think of David Reagan, I think of the 2011 Daytona 500 when he was the dominant car, and then he pulled down in front of Bain on the
Oh yeah.
before the start finish line. Uh, Man. Anyways, uh, so yeah, I would be interested to see how well front row runs this year. I don't. They could pick it up from last year. They could be the same. I don't really see them getting worse, but I don't know. It feels like when Michael McDowell was there, they actually were starting to turn a corner a little bit,
Yeah.
and then when he left, they kind of slumped back a little bit. But the whole lawsuit thing's also going on, so I don't know. Well, I'd be curious to see what that front row motorsports team's like this year. Um, and then the other question, maybe you heard it on the broadcast. I knew it right away. I actually said it out loud as they were covering the stat on the broadcast. Tyler Reddick is the first driver to win back-to-back races. Well, he's not the first one. It's like the sixth all time to do it. I can't remember.
You mean to start the year
Yeah,
or yeah? I remember
yeah,
him
that's
talking about it, but
the first and second race of the year. Um, do you know who the last person was to do it?
yeah, I remember them talking about it, but I don't remember the driver
Do
now.
you want me to tell you what year it was?
Sure.
2009.
9. Was it
It
Kenseth?
was Kenseth. I love
Okay.
a good Matt Kenseth stat.
Yeah.
Do you know who did it before him?
Jeff Gordon. I don't know.
1997.
Was it? Yeah.
Okay, that's all my useless stats and trivia for this week.
Yeah. Jimmy Johnson kept popping in my head, but the year I'm thinking of, I don't remember what year it was, but he won the 500, and Matt Kenseth, I think, won the next race, and Johnson finished second, and then Johnson won the third race of the year. So I remember that dominant start, and that I was like, nope, he didn't win 2 in a row. He just won.
That must have been '06 because in '06, Matt won at Auto Club Speedway, the second race of the year, and then him and Jimmy were side by side at the line of Vegas.
I, one of them was like a last lap pass.
Yeah,
That was
had to.
that the one?
That's
That
one of
was
my biggest like heartbreaks as a NASCAR fan is watching Matt led that whole race, and him and Jimmy were in the battle for the championship all year in '06,
yeah.
and he just got. I remember telling my dad, I was like, "Why didn't he just wash him up out of the groove and run him into the wall?" And
Yeah.
he's like, "Matt doesn't race that way."
But didn't Matt have like engine issues or something that last lap, or is why Johnson caught him or something? His car or something was
I don't think so.
mechanical issue. I thought that's maybe what it was, but
I don't recall that part of it, but
yeah,
I mean, you're asking me to remember something that was 20 years ago.
yeah,
Literally, it was
yeah.
20
I
years ago.
know.
uh,
Uh,
Anyways, do you want to get into the actual race itself, or
yeah,
you got anything else you want to talk about
I
before
ain't
we
got
get there?
nothing else.
Okay. Josh Berry, he ran really well at one point throughout the day, and then ends up in a wreck with Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs had a big impact there, hit the wall really hard. Josh Berry, this being a track that I thought he could run well at, ends up finishing 38th, dead last, and Ty Gibbs is right in front of him. So not a great start to the year for either one of them guys. I'm not sure what they look like for points, but I don't even have the standings pulled up. But they can't be near the front. They got to be in rough shape to kind of get the season going here.
Yeah, Ty Gibbs is 33rd, and 21 is Josh Berry is 25th.
Yeah, it's in there. That,
I mean, Christopher Bell's 31st.
yeah.
So I mean, they're not.
Did he crash at Daytona as well? Bell?
He must have. I don't really can't recollect when or where at this point, but
Well, yeah, he must have because on NASCAR.com, if you look at the standings here, it's actually got the tracker of where they went up and down, like when they do when drivers come off pit road. And Bell doesn't have a marker next to him, so it's like that's where he
oh,
was coming into the weekend.
yeah, he must have finished
So
31st. And
he must have had a rough.
was that what we talked about when uh, what Heim and Hamlin got together? I think that took out
Did it? That could be.
Bell in that one.
I can't remember. Uh, so yeah, kind of a kind of a rough start there for several of those guys. Your pick, Austin Cindric, ends up winning the first stage. I already talked about Carson Hocevar going down 2 laps early. What was it that cost him to go down? Did he blow it? Did he had a flat
He had
tire?
a tire,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. And tires did seem to matter in this race. That was nice.
Yeah.
I was happy. Ross Chastain, I think, thanked Goodyear for their contribution, which is, you know, anytime they give kudos to that. I used to be a big hater on Goodyear just because if you can place the blame on anybody, you got to put it wherever you can. But I think that you definitely have to let Goodyear know when they did a good job, and tires being a factor this week is a good thing. So I definitely want to see things like that continue. Uh, Riley Herbst, if you can believe this, ended up wrecking, and he took out Austin Dillon, who almost had that thing saved. And then I think it was John Hunter Nemechek that drove into his door.
Good. Yeah.
He was cleared out on the apron spinning, and here comes John Hunter. Boom. And it took out Stenhouse as well. I saw uh, earlier this week. This was from the Daytona race, but it applies here as well. Um, Somebody said that they placed an order from Walmart to have their groceries delivered, and they were holding up this can of dented beefaroni. They said they sent me a Ricky Stenhouse diecast from Daytona. It was pretty well smashed up, just like the car. Uh, I got a chuckle out of that. Um, there was a handful of issues during this race of guys that got wrecked. First of all, there was 10 cautions, and I think that were all of them were for an incident, weren't they? I don't know if they count the stages as
They
cautions, and that's
usually do, yeah.
so that must have been 2 stage cautions as well. But I think all of them were for an incident.
Yeah.
I can't think of a debris caution or anything like that. So, um, point being that yeah, there was a lot of carnage that took place throughout the race, but not as many cars were done, like wrecked out of the race, compared to how many cars got wrecked during the race to some degree or another. But the first issue being the Kyle Larson deal coming to the end of stage two. Um, Anything other than like, is there any conclusion to draw other than he just drove himself across the 97 snows?
That's exactly what he did. He
Okay,
just didn't know he was down there.
um, did that surprise you? Like that seems like Larson normally has more awareness than that,
Yeah,
or
that was, I don't know what was, I feel like the audio of the spotter was saying, stay up, stay up. So I don't know if he just took matters into his own hand, thought he was clear or what the deal was. But
yeah, that was
SVG did kind of sneak in there late in the corner. So, I mean, Larson probably thought the track was wide open. So, um, it was just a knucklehead move, I guess.
yeah, yeah, that I'm not sure what the yeah, it just surprised me. I didn't know what like I'm watching it going, where's he going?
Yeah.
And he ends up across the nose of SVG, and they both end up going sliding through the grass. Which SVG was on his way to the front there, obviously, if he's racing up there towards the end of stage two, and he still ended up getting a good finish. I think he finished seventh or something.
Yeah, I think that's, I knew it was a top 10.
Sixth,
Six.
yeah, even better. Zane got seventh, so yeah, SVG had a good day. Um, Wonder where he's at in points. I'm just gonna look
He
at
is 16th.
16th. That's right there at the cut, and we
Yeah.
haven't even got to a road course yet, and we're going there
We're
next
going,
week.
yeah, I'm just like, the more I look at this, I'm like, when we did our chase picks, I'm like, I wanted to put him in and I didn't. I'm like, oh man, he's
That might
right
have
there.
might have been a mistake.
Like, let's, I mean, let's, give him 20 points and that puts him in the top 10 in points if he wins the race, and that's like a win is 20 points
Yeah,
more than a second place driver. So that's kind of why I'm using that as
right.
a mark. So, I mean,
Yeah, that's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see where SVG's at by the time that we get to that cutoff
yeah,
race. The cutoff race is still Daytona, isn't it?
yes.
Okay. I'm getting warmed into the new schedule here to make sure I know where everything's at. Um, the Joey Logano Denny Hamlin incident, you know what I'm talking about? Where Hamlin bounced off the wall after Logano kind of got tight up in front of him.
Yeah,
When I first saw that, I was like, "Oh, Joey blocked him into the wall." And then they were saying on the broadcast, they're like, "Oh no, the 11 just got loose and hit the wall." And I'm still watching it the whole time, going, "The 22 lost the nose
yeah,
and kind of pushed up and caused Hamlin to check up and hit the wall." But that kind of caused caused an issue. It caused Tyler Reddick to end up getting the right front damage in that whole event.
Yeah, that's what said earlier, man. I hate how the aero sensitive you are behind another driver, especially now that handling the track is wearing out and handling is an issue. Um, of course, you want these cars on the edge of out of control, but in the same manner, just the aero tightness is just a big issue with this car.
Yeah. I, I don't dislike them having to lift.
Yeah,
I do like that, but you lose so much momentum if you lift. Not you lose it instantly is the problem. It's
yeah.
not just a gradual letdown to where you get a few guys that kind of get a run and go past you. It's right now. You're in somebody's lap, and that's what happened with Kyle Busch too. You know, he slid up in front of Gregson, which I don't, for some reason, I didn't write that incident down. But what did you think of that? Like, did you think that Gregson should have caught him a break?
Um,
Caught him a break?
so on the broadcast, they never showed Gregson's point of view. They just showed Kyle Busch and the outside point of view. I felt like Gregson was ready just to shoot down the backstretch, and Kyle Busch was just whoop, right up in front of him. Like Gregson already had the momentum going
Mm.
that like he didn't have time to let off because I don't know because Kyle Busch got tight and he wasn't planning to cut in front. I don't think so. Um, I don't think Gregson did anything wrong.
No, Kyle jumping out of the throttle there a little bit too. I mean,
Yeah,
like I just said, you lose momentum instantly in these cars. I don't think that Gregson was anticipating him being in his lap right there
yeah.
and didn't have a lot of time to. If he talked about it, I didn't hear about it from Gregson,
I didn't hear nothing from Gregson. No.
but that'd be curious to know what his perspective was on it. Um, and then another similar incident to that, Hocevar ended up turning Logano. Did you think you know which one I'm talking about there? They were up in the high lane coming off of four, and Joey went
Oh
back to
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
When I watched it, I was like, oh, Hocevar turned him. But the more that I watched it, it kind of looked like, I mean, you're not going to exit the corner up against the wall coming through the trioval. Like you come up, you come off the corner at the wall, and then you drift down toward the trioval. To me, that's what looked like was taking place there. And Hocevar wasn't moving at the rate that Joey was down. And so Logano clipped his nose.
yeah.
But
Is
I
that what
didn't,
the broadcast talked about? That Hocevar held his line with the lines on the racetrack, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
because when I initially thought it, I thought they had the spotter up and saying "clear behind Logano, clear behind Logano," and then I thought it looked like Hocevar was was trying to clear up behind him and then clipped him.
Mm.
That was my initial thought because they were playing that live. But the more it watched it, it was like it does look like Logano was coming down the track and Hocevar was holding his line. But those lines, I think,
Yeah.
are arbitrary. You know, the actual racing line is not exactly those lines either. So
Well, the line's relative to the wall, but that
yeah,
doesn't mean that that's the path you're going to follow to race.
yeah. So I just kind of a racing deal on that point, I
That's
guess.
kind of
So
how I saw it there. I mean, I was disappointed because Joey's up front, but he was kind of starting to fade a little bit at that point.
yeah.
Don't really know what his issue was, but that was I was looking forward to seeing him run up there a little bit better, and it was disappointing to see him get turned. But at the same point, I didn't feel like it took him out of position to win the race either. Um, we're going to get to a good one of these here in a second, but that kind of brings us down here towards the end of the race. The intensity was high. I mean, it definitely felt like it was um, very, very intense. That they were going to be is guys were building runs, they were taking runs, they were pushing each other really hard, and it felt like no matter what, whoever was in the lead didn't matter. It was just who's fifth, sixth, seventh right now because those guys are going to be the ones to kind of shuffle their way up through there. And they just kept building and getting you somebody drive to the front and then they'd get passed, and then somebody else would drive to the front and they'd get passed. And again, I don't know that I'm in love with that style, but that's the way it was, and it was building. Everybody was putting it all out there at that point. There was no lagging back. There was, yeah, I mean, you were trying to build a run if you were in second, lay back to the guy in third, and then both of you get that shot to go. But other than that, it was those feet were on the floor,
Hmm.
all the way down, all the way around the racetrack. It was exciting and intense to watch. And finally, you just see Byron kind of bobble out there in the middle, and he hit the wall, and then he started to slow down, and I thought he had a tire go down, and I'm thinking, well, that should be a yellow because he's in the middle of the track. Like guys are gonna have to drive around him, and then they go down the backstretch, and all of a sudden they're wrecking everywhere. And I'm like, what happened here? I heard on the teardown that they said that it wasn't a tire issue for the 24. Did you know? Did you hear him say what it was?
Um, I don't think he ever did say what it was. To me, it just sounded like he got loose and or tight or whatever up into the wall, and I don't know. It was just
Did something break after he hit the wall though?
he never said. Nobody. I don't know.
So this, I texted you in that moment because I was like, did, like the 24 drove across the whole oncoming
Yeah,
traffic and bounced off the two car of Austin Cindric. Like if you have a flat tire and you can't drive it or something broke on the car, like I understand that move. Like you can't help it at that point. But for him, I mean, for Byron, he seems like he has more sense than that too, to come from the middle lane and just go, oh, I'm gonna go to the apron right now. I mean, it's like the Family Guy meme.
yeah,
And he just cranked that thing to the left and wrecked everybody. Like I am baffled by that. If there's got to be a real explanation out there somewhere for it. Like I don't think that Byron just said, "Yeah, I'm going now."
yeah,
But it just I was so confused by that as to what was going wrong to make that move because it didn't make any sense.
yeah. As far as I know, he. I would have thought it'd been easy. Like when a car is damaged, it's usually easier to keep it up along the wall
Yeah,
because that's where your force and momentum is going. But I don't know. It just looks really odd. It's like you decide, oh, I'm going to cut down through here, and whatever happens, happens. But
yeah. It's. Do you think they're slowly replacing the driver's brains at Hendrick or what?
it's just
Because I mean, Larson had that issue, and now Byron
Byron,
had
yeah,
this issue. Um, yeah, but we know Bowman doesn't even have a brain. So like, what? I don't know what you're supposed to do with. I mean, Elliott's our last hope,
yeah,
and I don't know. That just really surprised me at that one entirely as to what the deal was there. Uh, I put in the note that Bell was on the front row for overtime after they had a red flag, clean up all the mess, and then they got everybody back going again. And I was like, man, we were so like I didn't think that Christopher Bell was winning this race, even as I was watching it at that point.
yeah,
But I was like, man, they we're so close to getting that three-peat from last year's winner because we had Kyle Busch, we had the evil Austin Hill leading going into turn three,
yeah,
and here Bell's going to be on the front row again. And he wasn't. A, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember seeing him up there for most of the day as far as like being a leader. He might have been
yeah,
near the front. He probably scored some stage points. I don't know, but I wasn't like, oh yeah, Bell. He's probably up here to win this race, and he very well was in position to do it. Him and Bubba were on the front row on that first overtime restart. They drop the green. They go past the start finish line. They make. I'm gonna say they made a hole. You can argue what you want to say,
yeah,
but the front row cars split, and Hocevar said, "I'll take that spot," and he dove to the middle. And as soon as he shaded left, they came back together to form their normal side by side position, which then boom shot Bell into the wall and ended his day. Big hit for him.
yeah. Even
And
Brad Keselowski would agree there wasn't a hole there.
yeah, that's I heard that brought up. Was that the first thing that came to your mind?
Yeah, well, that
The Texas race
Texas
from
jump,
2014.
yeah.
Yeah,
I like even Brad Keselowski wasn't making that move.
yeah. They'd mentioned that on the teardown as well.
That was like when they talked about it on the broadcast or replaying the record or whatever. I'm like, yeah, Brad Keselowski would have been proud of that one.
Yeah, that it was. Do you think that there was a hole there to start with?
I don't think so.
Okay, I did. Like I felt like there was space.
The argument really is, was he being shoved enough that he had nowhere else to go? Because I believe Chastain was pushing him, and like if they're bumper to bumper, I mean, Hocevar has to go somewhere. Obviously, the 20 was already shaded to the outside. Hocevar goes up the track. There's a possibility of clipping him at that point, or being a bad push, or do I just try to shoot what gap there is here? So that's the only grace I'll give Hocevar is I don't know how much he was being pushed in that moment, whether he had a choice to take it or not take
Yeah, I
it.
think he did.
Uh,
I mean, I think you always have a choice whether to take the because he could have hit the 20 square. and just moved that line.
Yeah, that's what I didn't. Don't know if he was afraid to hit the 20 as hard as he was being pushed, or what the deal was. But
Yeah,
that's the only thing I'll give Hocevar a chance to argue about.
yeah, I'm not giving him that chance. And look, I say that with I don't think Carson Hocevar did anything wrong in this race.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, I'm sure he did stuff that he wishes he'd done differently, or things that you could consider to be wrong. But there's nothing that goes, see that right there. That's Carson Hocevar messed up right there. Nothing at all in this race stands out to me for that. And we'll get to that in a second. For reference, Christopher Bell did end up finishing 21st. But obviously, caution for that. And they re rack and they go again. And I don't even remember what all Hocevar did that trip, but it seemed like he was having trouble getting people to work with him. Chastain didn't seem to have a problem with it, but other than that, he was having trouble getting guys to push him. The Suarez did when he got up there. He worked with him a little bit, and that's how he ended up maintaining fourth. But he kind of got up to a spot where I'm trying to think if this is how this worked. Is that when Bubba Wallace went up there to block him, and then he and Chastain slipped the middle?
I think so. Yeah,
And then but then he got hung out after that. Just started going backwards until he caught up with a seven, and then they kind of both worked their way back up toward the front. But that little bit of a slip let Reddick get out front, who Reddick was pushing the 23, and then the 23 threw this block, and Reddick's like, well, I guess I'll lead this thing now. And with no right front fender on it, he's able to get it all the way back around at the start finish line and win the race with let's see, Chase Briscoe is actually who I thought was going to get it. Him and Chastain ended up being in a hot pursuit, but didn't quite end up getting to the point where they could pass him. And Reddick takes home the victory with only three fenders on the car. Uh, he had fresh tires, which does make a difference, but I was surprised with a missing fender
yeah.
how fast he was. And I would kind of like to get some answers on that as to why. Like, was it the tire difference was that big a deal? Because I didn't think once you put it out in the wind, if that was the same thing as Logano last week at Daytona, like he could run up through the field, but as soon as he got to the middle of the middle lane when he was in the open air, it just
Yeah, I don't know how long it takes these cars to really get up to speed in 2 laps. So I don't know if they were at full song. Like Daytona,
yeah.
sometimes it takes them a whole lap and a half to get up to full speed. So I don't know if maybe they cars didn't have full enough momentum to get the runs that they would need without pushing and shoving. Maybe the cars behind them didn't have a tight enough draft to get up to him at that point. I imagine another lap or so he was a parachute
Yeah,
in the
probably.
wind. But I think everything just played out perfectly for him. All the other guys probably checked up when they were bouncing off each other, three wide, passing each other. So I think it was just kind of a perfect storm for Reddick that he got out front enough that his momentum was enough
Yeah.
to keep him going.
He ends up winning the race. Um, he ended up doing a burnout in reverse,
Yeah.
which I've never seen before. I thought that was kind of cool. And goes to victory lane, puts the sticker on the car, and he made sure to keep his kid away from Michael Jordan this time. Uh, I got nothing serious to say negative about Michael Jordan. I mean,
Yeah.
that to me seemed like a whole overblown issue,
Yeah.
but uh, I mean, I'm not even going to get into it because we have fun on this show, and that's not fun if that's a serious issue. But uh, yeah, that Reddick was able to obviously to get the win with only three fenders on the car, and that kind of surprised me that that was a possibility for him. And after winning the Daytona 500 and everything that you go through that following week with the media tour and everything, I guess I didn't see that at this point. I didn't see Tyler Reddick necessarily even having two wins this year, and he's got him in the first two races of the
Yeah.
season. But if you remember last year, Bell won those three races right away, and then he kind of faded away for a while. So
Yeah.
be curious to see if 2311 is able to keep up their momentum. And they only have two cars that matter to me. And I'm not even like I don't even say that to be rude to Riley Herbst. I just don't like he's just a placeholder till they put Corey
Heim.
Heim in that
Yeah.
car. Um, the 35 is irrelevant. It's only there because the Monster Energy logo is on the hood. Like that's the only reason that Herbst is in that car. And so the 23 and the 45 are who I'm going to measure their success by, and they have both run really strong to start the year. And I think that Reddick could be strong going into Coda, and I think that Bubba Wallace even could be a top 10 car at Coda. So I'll be curious to see what that looks like after we get out of there, and then back to Phoenix and see where it all shakes out at that point. What are your thoughts on Carson Hocevar? Do you think that you said that there wasn't a hole there? Let's say that there was. Let's just for theory's sake say that there was a hole there at the time that he started to turn his wheel to the left. Fair move?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Chase Elliott did that same thing when he won 3 years ago, I think it was. Remember the race they had with on a last lap he blocked Corey LaJoy
yeah.
off the wall. Well, Chase Elliott restarted fourth, which was the same position Hocevar was. The move came later, but I believe it was still in turns 1 and 2. Uh, I think it was Martin Truex Jr. in the 19 at the time, and just gave a little bit enough a gap, and Chase got to run at the right time, and Chase just put it in the middle and got on the front of that high line, went on to win the race. So I almost see it as a similar move. Hocevar just probably should have waited a little longer to see if that hole opened up more.
Yeah, I think the patience would have been beneficial to him there
Yeah,
in that situation, especially with that whole like you're on the front row, you're in a good spot to build a run. You're not out front. That's a vulnerable spot to be.
yeah,
You're in a good place, especially in the top lane. It seemed like that was the one that had the momentum when they actually got racing. So if I was Hocevar, I think I say this is Carson Hocevar's best track to have an opportunity to win at. That's why I picked him here. Like if you said pick a driver that you think is going to have a really good day at Atlanta and maybe not at a lot of other places, you would say, Ricky Stenhouse. You would say Daniel Suarez. You would say Carson Hocevar, I think.
yeah,
Um, Kyle Busch maybe. And my point being, like he probably felt like this was an opportunity he had to capitalize on if he was going to win a race. And I think that probably um, got into his head a little bit, maybe, and he made some moves that weren't necessarily the brightest. But I shouldn't even say the brightest, weren't the most patient, weren't the most optimal moves for that point in time. But I don't really point the finger and say that was wrong right there. And he did a lot of things coming up through the field. He was getting huge runs and then washing guys out of their lane and trying to take over their spot, like very aggressive stuff that you would see from him. Again, I don't fault him for it. But I will say this too, that if he got out of his car and there was three guys waiting there to punch him when he got out of his car, I wouldn't blame them either.
yeah,
So I think it's kind of one of those things that are you willing to um, are you willing to take the risk of I'm going to make this guy mad and see, to potentially win the race. And I think that Carson Hocevar is in a good spot to where I would be willing to take that risk. And if I was his owner, if I was his crew chief, whatever, his sponsor, I would not want him to change anything that he's doing. Again, if that was Joey Logano in the 20 car, if the 22 was sitting there and he wrecked him into the wall on an overtime restart like that, I'd be very upset with him. And I think the Bell should be upset with him. But I'm also not sitting here as a fan going, Hocevar should have never done that.
yeah.
Do you agree or disagree?
I agree. I guess that was probably the wrong.
Wrong time.
Yeah,
That one for sure. It should have been more patient there. I think that would be hard to argue against. I thought I thought it was interesting that issue we were talking about between him and Logano, where Joey got spun off of four. He took 100% responsibility for it. He said, "Yeah, that was my fault all the way." And they pointed out on the teardown, they're like, "That might just be in his best effort moving forward." Being like, "Yeah, that was all me. That was
yeah.
not make Joey Logano mad."
Did you see Hocevar's Instagram story?
No.
I'll have to check it out later. It was a clip from Seinfeld from George, and he was getting fires. Oh, am I not supposed to do that? I'm not going to reenact it
Yeah,
out here or whatever
yeah.
because I'm not good at that. But you have to check it out if it's still up or not.
Yeah, I know what scene that was too.
Yeah.
Why George was getting fired. Uh, anyways, anything else from this race that you wanted to touch on?
I don't got nothing. No.
I thought it was a good race overall, and I think that it's not really going to be something that translates to some of these other races coming up, but it is interesting that it kind of sets the tone points wise for some things down the road.
Yeah.
So for our garage area picks for Coda, before we move on to the other series, you get the first pick. We could, again, if you're just following along, it's a lot like a door bumper clear system. It's almost exactly like that.
Yeah, although we're using the points the drivers get in a race
Right.
versus just who wins and who doesn't win.
Right. That way, it's not just who finishes ahead of who, it's the collective points.
Yeah.
And so you got first pick this week. You had Cindric this week, who ran well, won a stage, and ended up getting crashed by one of the Hendrick boys. Who you taking for Coda?
Um, I think I decided I'm going to take Connor Zilic. He was nearly a top 15 last year before his own teammate Suarez wiped him out. So, um, I think since he's had a start here at Coda, I might as well. I don't want to use up any of my good picks yet.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think this is probably one of his better chances. He has a start here and with this car and whatnot too. So that's who I'm going with.
I think this will get more interesting as we move towards Phoenix and towards Homestead and tracks like that to
Yeah.
see who we end up picking. Because like at Daytona and Atlanta in Coda, it's such a small group of guys that at the Daytona and Atlanta you have a wider range of guys that you think could run well because it's more wide open, and then you go to a road course, it's like the group's much more narrow.
Yeah.
Guys that might not run well at ovals, traditional ovals, are going to run well at the road courses.
Yeah.
So I don't blame you for that. My pick's actually going to be Kyle Busch. I think that this is a track that I think he finished in the top five here last year, and if he could stay away from Christopher Bell, I think he's run pretty well here in the other years as well. Uh, and I don't, there's not a lot of races beyond this one that I look and say, oh, I think Kyle Busch could win that one. So hopefully he's able to get me some good points this week at Coda.
And one thing we forgot about last week when we were talking about Tyler Reddick. I just kind of, you asked me when his last win was, and we both said Talladega. I both completely forgot about that, like three wide move he made at Homestead to make it to the Final Four in 2024 when he passed Blaney and Hamlin.
Okay, I remember
Yeah,
that move. I guess I
yeah.
was thinking that the Talladega win was since then,
No,
but yeah,
that was his last win. So
okay.
I was just like, I kind of like got home, looked it up, and I'm like, I can't believe I forgot about that one.
I
Not that
remember,
I forgot about the race,
yeah,
but that was
I
yeah,
remember that. I just didn't have the timeline right in my head.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think of Tyler Reddick winning. I think of that Talladega race. I think of that Homestead race. I think of him winning at Coda in the eight car. Was it Coda? I think so. Chastain got his first win at Coda.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Chastain got his first win
But
there, but
I think Reddick did too, didn't he?
I thought he got a win. Was it with the 45 though?
No, it was with the eight.
Okay, I don't remember
Man, I have to think about this.
because I know he won Road America in the eight. I think that was his first career win. I thought was at Road America with the eight.
It was Road America. Maybe that's what I'm thinking
Yeah,
of then. Um,
I
yeah,
thought.
it was super memorable.
Yeah,
But
I remember it because he beat Chase Elliott, and that was kind of when Chase Elliott's downfall on road courses started to tell.
mhm. uh, yeah. Anyways, anything else from the Cup race?
I don't have anything else.
Moving on to the Grand National Series, Cody Ware was in this race, and you knew that by the amount of debris that he left on the racetrack. It looked like a pile of spring rubber sitting out there, as Clint Boyer said. But he left a shower of debris on the front stretch. So he's just a nuisance in every series anymore. Uh, Raja Caruth, I think that he deserves props and accolades for the way that he ran that race and controlled his car. He does seem to attract whatever was going on. Although I'm not saying they were his fault. I'm just
Yeah,
saying he seemed to be around every accident that took place in that race, and he showed some good car control. He definitely deserves that. Does HendrickCars.com just sponsor everybody now? Are they the new Bass Pro Shops and Menards
yeah. I don't know. It,
and Monster Energy? I
yeah.
guess those guys seem to have their logo on all kinds of cars. I mean, this weekend Hendrick had it on Kyle Busch's
Kyle
car,
Busch. Yeah,
Corey Day, Raja Caruth.
was Larson's.
No, Larson's the Valvoline.
Yeah, okay, I couldn't remember which.
Maybe they didn't have a couple on then.
Yeah, I doubt it. I know they even sponsored Keelan Harvick down in that
Yeah.
series. So,
Well, he might not
not
anymore.
anymore. Yeah.
We'll get to that in a little bit too. Sheldon Creed gets his first race, wins his first race after finishing second 15 times. That was a record, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's impressive. Um, I'm not a huge Sheldon Creed guy. I don't have any like tie to him one way or the other, but it is kind of ironic that the way that he got his win is because the guys in front of him wrecked.
Yeah.
Uh, uh,
I I'm glad he got his first
Yeah.
win, but I just kind of find it funny that he kept finishing second. I'm like, I hope something just
Oh,
happens that he
dude,
finishes second just because of the
that's
how
I
funny
have
it
not
is.
again. I have nothing like positive or negative against Sheldon Creed. Yeah, I thought it was going to be awesome if he just always finished second
Yeah.
from now until forever. That would have been cool. Sam Mayer, he kind of continues to do Sam Mayer bonehead things, where he went to congratulate
Oh
uh,
yeah.
Sheldon on the front stretch and then just drove it back through the grass and destroyed his car. Uh, Nothing wrong with his racing. Just yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and after this race destroy his car.
I'll turn here.
Is Chad? You can't park there. Is Chad Knaus crew chief? After the race, you got to destroy the car so they can't find
Oh
out
yeah.
what you're doing.
He didn't win, so he didn't have to
Yeah,
destroy the
definitely didn't
car.
have
So
Knaus. Uh, the most important storyline of that though, Austin Hill doesn't get the win. That's my favorite part of this whole
yeah,
thing. Is
I think that's everybody's favorite
oh,
part.
it has to be, has to be. Did you hear his post race interview?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just like nails on a chalkboard when he talk. You know, you guys look awfully similar. You and Austin Hill. I'm gonna start calling you Ryan Hill. And it's better than Bobby Hill.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
uh, yeah, it just he immediately got out and started whining about how guys won't work with him, and then Chastain, got nothing to say to him, and even though he's a Chevrolet teammate, and
Yeah, he just drove right through me,
yeah,
even though I threw a Hail Mary block.
yeah,
And
like Ch- I guess that's a good question. Do you put any blame on Chastain for
no,
that? You don't.
no.
Chastain could have lifted. They're going to
Yeah,
turn three for the win, but he could have lifted. So, like, if you want to put any blame on him, that's where it is. But that's
yeah.
the end of it, as far as I'm concerned. Like, you could say, yeah, he didn't have to wreck the 21. I did see a tweet that said all these guys can't beat Austin Hill at plate or at restrictor plate races, and Ross Chastain, have you tried wrecking him? uh, I, yeah, I think that would have been my plan the whole time is just wreck him.
Yeah.
But he did. He was able to find his way up to the front. He had tires, I think, as well. I think he had four fresh, and I'm not sure that anybody else did at that point. I can't remember
Yeah,
for sure.
I remember he put tires on for Daytona and got back up to the front,
Oh, maybe that's what I was
but I
confusing him
don't
with.
Atlanta. I don't remember in particular because I don't think a lot of those drivers had to pit at the end of that race. I don't,
Okay.
but
Anyways, going down the backstretch, and Chastain's making a move to the bottom, and the 21 tries to come down and block it, and Chastain's still going down. And Chastain stopped at the white line,
yeah,
and 21 did not.
yeah,
He kept going. He got clipped on underneath of him. I don't feel like Austin has a ton to complain about in that. I mean, yeah, I stand by it. I don't think he has a ton to complain about in that moment. It's just kind of the way that the cookie crumbled there. And with them guys wiped out, Sheldon Creed was just there and had the opportunity to take advantage. If you haven't watched it, you should go back and watch the last two laps of that race and then Austin Hill's interview. It's just incredible. Just the stuff that he whines about. And Chastain in his interview, they asked him if he'd talk to him. He says he's going to be running on the treadmill right next to me on Monday morning at the Chevy workout. So I'm curious to know how that went today. Maybe I'll tweet him.
yeah.
Chastain, how's Austin Hill today? Uh,
Austin Hill on a treadmill. I don't know about
yeah,
that.
it's a good point. That wasn't why I said you look like him, just for the record. I just think your guys' face looks similar. Uh, anyways, and I've played video games with you, NASCAR video games. You guys race a lot alike.
Okay.
Uh,
I win all the restrictor plate races.
yeah,
Yeah,
but that's pretty much all I had for the Grand National Series race. Uh,
yeah,
Moving on to the trucks, Kyle Busch and Carson Hocevar, they end up working pretty well together. Hocevar was a good teammate to him throughout. Kyle didn't even give him the credit for the whole race, but anything I saw looked like he was working with him pretty well. Ben Rhodes really controlled that race, but ended up running out of gas at the end of stage
yeah,
two. That was a kind of a odd deal. Um, but he ended up getting back up toward the front. I'm not sure exactly where he finished in the race, but he was a contender there at the end, um, but didn't end up getting it done. People were complaining about the countdown clock, um, saying that people said a lot of things. I think it only cut 10 laps from the race.
yeah. About that.
So if you don't know, the weather played a factor on Saturday. Qualifying for the Cup Series got rained out. Um, Truck Series started late, right?
Yeah,
And because they're trying to maintain their TV window with the CW for the Busch Series race, they decided that the truck race was going to have to end at a certain point. And because of that, they weren't going to get the laps in at that point, and so they put a clock on it. People online were freaking out about that. Jeff Gluck said that his mentions were just melting down with this. Um, I thought that. I want to know what you thought.
I mean, all the trucks knew the rules before going into the race. I mean, um, NASCAR stated they weren't going to run a truck race if they didn't think they could fit it all in. I mean, that was kind of a stretch starting in when they did. They knew it was going to be close. Had there not been a caution, I think in that final stage they probably would have made it. But I don't think the race would have played out much different. All it did was probably take away some of the riding around till the end, and it just kind of ended the race uh, just just a few laps shorter than what it was. I think it still would have been a good race.
Well, the thing that they brought out on the teardown, I thought was good, and whether you want to admit it or not, you're beholden to the network a little bit, and
Yeah,
especially for people like us that are watching. Like we're
yeah,
not at the racetrack; we're watching it on TV. So even if you want to complain about the network having all the power, that's how you're watching it. Uh, but you got to keep in mind too that the truck race is on FS1. This is not a dedicated NASCAR sports network. This is a sports network.
yeah,
And this is the heart of college basketball season right now, coming into the end of the regular season and into March Madness. And they had a 4 o'clock game that was going to be broadcast on FS1.
yeah.
So,
I think CW was the main one they
well,
were
I
worried
understand.
about. Yeah,
But that's what I'm saying. Like, no matter what, I guess my point being that from
yeah,
one of the theories that was presented was if you stopped the truck race and red flagged it, and then started the O'Reilly race so that they could get their CW start time on, and then came back and finished the truck race. Even if you did that, which is an asinine idea,
yeah,
even if you did that, you couldn't watch it on FS1
yeah.
because it would be they were going to be playing college basketball, so it would have to be on FS2 or some other network.
Either
And
that or just stream it on a Fox Sports app or something.
yeah,
Be
can you
that would,
imagine that?
yeah.
Like,
So
would you rather see the timer end the race 10 laps short, or would you rather have to watch it on Fox Sports Go?
yeah, definitely the timer
Duh.
running
I
out.
mean,
So
I don't get the complaining about it. And Kyle Busch was going to win anyways. Like that's just how these races work.
yeah,
uh, that's not necessarily true, but
yeah,
obviously he did. Uh, I don't get that. It's not like we've never seen anything like this before. We reference that 1996 highlight tape all the time. There was a race at Talladega that, because of all the cautions and the red flags that they had to shorten the race because they're running out of daylight. They didn't have any lights at Talladega,
yeah,
so it was, hey, we got 7 more laps, run them, and that
yeah,
was it. So it's not like shortening races. This is the first time we've ever done that, and dude, it wasn't the Cup race. Like it's a
yeah,
Truck Series race.
yeah,
Relax. I don't get the complaint about it. And the other thing that stood out to me about this race, it seemed kind of odd. I think the 77 had an opportunity to win that race. I think Hocevar could have won that race and chose, instead of laying back on the backstretch on the final lap, to just stay with the 7.
yeah. I heard he was having overheating issues,
That's the
and
last lap. Who cares?
yeah, well, what happens with them trucks? They detune themselves when their engine gets hot. So
That's stupid.
that yeah, so um, well, all those trucks, no matter the manufacturer, run the same
Yeah.
engines. They're all, I believe, base Chevy LS engines or something
Also,
to that effect. But
also stupid.
yeah, but for cost effective, their computers and stuff will detune your engines if it starts overheating and stuff to save the equipment and cost savings and whatnot. And I think he said he was having misfire issues and stuff, whatever, at that point. So he didn't feel like he had the power with the truck enough that he was just able enough to hold up to stay behind Kyle Busch, but he didn't feel like he had the energy to pass him. But I don't know, maybe he was just trying to get some good points with Kyle Busch at the same time too. So
Well, that's kind of what I wondered too. Is he was showing Kyle that he could be a good teammate because
yeah,
Carson gets a lot of hate for a lot of stuff he does, but I feel like he was almost showing him that like, hey, that this is I can work with you. I can be a good teammate, and it almost feels to me as though Spire's courting Kyle Busch a little bit because this is a contract year for him. Suarez is only under a 1 year deal. The 77 and the 71 have run well the first 2 races of the year. Again, they're drafting tracks.
yeah,
It'll be curious to see how does Spire run compared to RCR this year, and specific. I don't even know if you could say specifically the seven, but the how did the 77 and the 71 run compared to the 8 and the 3? And is that going to be an opportunity for them to say, "Hey, come over here. We got Gabe Hart now. Let's let's see if we can win you
Yeah.
some races."
We'll see how Gabe Hart pays out or plays
He
out
might be
after.
paying out.
Yeah.
uh, Anyways, that's all I got from the truck race. Unless you got something
I
else,
don't have anything
let's
else.
touch the last of these notes and then get out of here. We're already going for quite a while at this point.
About an hour.
About an hour, man. Um, so Chris Gabehart obviously was Denny Hamlin's crew chief for a long time, not a long time, a while, a few years. Um, Ends up moving to the competition director role. Um, Chris, who's his current crew chief?
Ooh,
Denny's.
Denny's. Oh,
You're practically a Denny bro. What did Denny have to say about this race?
I
Did
didn't
you had
listen.
to have listened to Denny?
I, it popped up just shortly before I was about to head over here.
I
So
can't believe you didn't listen to it on the way over. I know you want to
yeah,
hear what Denny says every week. Uh,
you listen to him too. I know
I
you
do
do.
listen to him too, but it's not like I sit there in front of my computer waiting for Denny to
Yeah,
pop up.
I have nothing else better to do, I guess.
Anyway, I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
Uh, Take it easy, Austin Hill. All right. So Gabe Hart ends up. It's another Chris that is
Lambert? Is that or
Lambert's a spotter, I think.
Spotter? Okay. Um,
Gale, Chris
Chris
Gale. See who it
Gale.
is.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Uh, okay, so Gabe Hart, that is not relevant to this at all. Gabe Hart ends up being the competition director at Gibbs last year, and even as Ty Gibbs being so lagging so far behind the rest of those guys most of the year, Gabe Hart actually ended up sitting on his box and strategizing the races for the tail end of the year, and actually brought Ty Gibbs's performance up some to the point where it was like, oh, he might actually be in position to win a race here at some point to the end of the year. Fortunately for us, that never happened. Um, and then after the season was over, he went to Joe Gibbs and said, "Hey, I want more control of the team, of the racing teams as a whole." I don't know why or what exactly he was looking for, and Gibbs said no. This is all alleged. Gibbs said no. Would you be interested in leaving instead? And he said yeah. And apparently he downloaded a ton of files to a Google Drive titled Spire, and which again seems very hard to believe. And
Yeah, I mean, maybe why would you label it
That's
Spire?
that was the
That's
big glaring
yeah.
thing to me. It was like, why wouldn't it just say personal notes or
Yeah.
something along that line, or some kind of code name that you could then reference later.
Yeah.
Like Chris Gabehart is not a dumb individual.
Yeah.
To label it Spire and to send all your files there does seem dumb.
Yeah.
Now, the taking pictures of your screen, that is actually not a bad plan.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been too upset about that as far as like there's kind of a line. Well, I got to finish the story first and kind of explain that now JGR is suing Chris Gabehart for stealing their intellectual property and digital property and whatever else. And now he does work at Spire, and they want him to pay $8 million, but nothing. Even though that they put these non-competes in these guys' contracts, nothing says that they don't want him to work at Spire anymore. So wouldn't that kind of be the point?
Yeah.
If he has all this information, they just seem to want him to pay the $8 million. So there's definitely more to this story. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know if Gabehart made a statement yet. I know he's
I
supposed to.
I haven't heard nothing if he did.
I need Gluck to give me the information on this. That's who I'm following the whole way. Uh, but that whole situation just seems kind of weird. Uh, I don't know. Like it seems like there should be, if you're a crew chief on a race team, you're gonna learn information. Like you're gonna know things about how you set up those race cars. You can't just delete that information from your brain when you leave and go to work somewhere else. So like how are you going to take my paper notebook if I keep information in that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I get that like hey, we're going to do a work computer. You can't transfer any information off of that to your personal computer. I got no problem with that. But you can't take what's in my head or what's in my paper notebook. It seems like it would
Yeah.
be the case. It just seems ridiculous that this is if he was going to steal information that this is the route you would go to do it.
Yeah.
So something's fishy about this whole thing. I'll be curious to see how it all shakes out. Uh, You got any comments on that before we move on?
No.
Keelan Harvick got signed by Toyota, 13 years old, and is signed by a manufacturer. I think that's pretty impressive. He's clearly got talent. I think you're going to see Brexton Bush get signed at some point as well. And I don't know if there's any other young guys their age that are that talented that people are gonna they're getting recognition because of who their dads are, but their talent is their own. Like these guys do race well, and even I've not. It's not like I've sat down and watched their racecraft and studied it,
Yeah.
but from things that I've heard and clips that I've seen on Twitter and stuff, these guys aren't dumb. Like they understand racing. So I'm curious to see where that ends up going and who, like, is he in the JGR pipeline now? Is he at the 2311 pipeline? Like, where is he going to end up filtering? Is Jimmy Johnson trying to get a hold of him? They're not affiliated, so that's not going to be the case.
Yeah.
But even though they run Toyotas, um, the only other thing I was going to comment on before we get out of here, see if I can pull this up. I took a screenshot of a tweet. Let's see if I can pull it up here. So Bob Pockrass said, Brad Keselowski is still unsure of his status next week for COTA. Joey Hand will be his backup driver. Keselowski could start the race and then get out of the car. Keselowski on Hand as his reserve driver for COTA scenarios, and it goes on to the article stating what he had to say about him. Uh, you're shaking your head like you saw
Yeah,
this.
I didn't know what you're going to.
Racing Territory uh, quote tweeted this and said, "Wouldn't it be better having Catherine Legg as the backup driver?" And as I read that sentence, I'm like, "No, what are you talking about?" Instead of Joey Hand. By all accounts, there is nothing wrong with his hand, just his leg.
Yeah.
That made me laugh a little harder than it probably should have. Uh, yeah, it's Brad's leg. Get Catherine Legg to substitute. His hands are fine. uh, yeah, that'll be curious to know if Brad can go that whole race. For as well as they brought this up on the teardown too. For as well as he ended up coming out of Daytona and Atlanta, as far as where he's at in points now and the um, amount that he collected. Where is he at in points?
He is ninth in points right now.
So being in that spot, just get out of the car. Like, why risk it? It's a long year.
Yeah.
Like, if shifting you think is going to be an issue, just put Joey Hand in the car and let it be. Like, Brad Keselowski's not going to win at this. He could have won at Daytona. He could have won at Atlanta.
Yeah.
He's not going to win at COTA. So if it were me, I'd just get out of the car. I feel like that's your best opportunity to gain the most points, and then move on to Phoenix from there. But that's just my thought. My throat's getting dry from as much as we've talked about this. Uh, Anything else that you wanted to cover before we get out of here?
I don't have anything else.
All right. Well, remember, if you're on social media, follow the Garage Area on X, on Instagram. Check out at the Garage Area, on TikTok at the.garage.area. All of our preview videos and stuff are going to be on those different sites, and you'll get to see where our picks shake out during each race, because it's actually been interestingly accurate so far as that's gone along. You can follow me on Twitter at AdamWhite_22, and you can follow Ryan on Twitter at _Austin Hill. And actually, it's at RyanWW924, but you'll see what I mean if you look up Austin Hill. Until we get out of COTA, we'll talk to you guys then.